Imagine a world where every tree grew exactly the same height, every river flowed the same direction, every star shone with the same light. Such a world would be orderly, yes, but lifeless. And yet, every day, we are pressured to become exactly like someone else, to trim ourselves into shapes that suit society's expectations. We forget that it is our very differences that make us alive, that make the world beautiful, that make us necessary. Ladies and gentlemen, in a world that constantly asks us to blend in, to follow the crowd, and to stay comfortable in familiar patterns, the courage to be different is not just an act of rebellion. It is an act of survival for the soul. It is easy to imitate. It is easy to obey. It is easy to hide. But the extraordinary, the world-changing, the timeless is never easy. Each of us carries a unique melody, a combination of thoughts, dreams, and passions that no one else possesses. When we suppress it, we dim the light not only within ourselves, but for everyone around us. It is fear that often chains us, fear of ridicule, fear of failure, fear of being alone. Yet courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to act in spite of it. History remembers those who refused to fit in. They were called dreamers, misfits, radicals. But they were the ones who moved humanity forward. Think of them. Think of the inventors, the artists, the leaders who dared to walk a path no one else dared. Their secret was simple. They honored the truth of who they were. And that is where our journey begins. Within. To be different requires knowing yourself, listening to your convictions, and embracing your quirks and passions unapologetically. It requires standing firm when the world pressures you to waver. Each small act of authenticity is a seed planted in the garden of courage, growing quietly until it blossoms into change. So I urge you, do not shrink to fit the mold. Do not silence the voice that is uniquely yours. Speak, create, dream, and lead in ways that only you can. Surround yourself with those who celebrate your light, not those who dim it. Every time you choose authenticity over acceptance, you inspire others to do the same. In a world that wants uniformity, being different is a revolutionary act. It is the courageous act. It is the act that shapes not only your life, but the lives of those who come after you. Stand tall, shine bright, and remember, the world does not need more copies. It needs more originals. Society has a way of shaping us before we even realize it. From the moment we are born, rules, expectations, and norms begin to press upon us. We are told how to behave, how to speak, what to wear, and even what dreams are considered reasonable. Schools reward those who follow instructions without question. Workplaces favor employees who fit the existing culture rather than those who bring fresh ideas. Social circles often celebrate conformity, applauding the person who blends in rather than the one who stands apart. Even social media quietly enforces this pressure, showing us curated versions of life and subtly suggesting that approval comes only when we align with the majority. People start comparing themselves to others, trying to imitate habits, attitudes, and achievements that may not match their own nature. Over time, this creates an invisible cage around individuality. Conformity feels safer because it shields us from criticism, isolation, or rejection, yet it comes at the cost of our uniqueness. Being different can feel uncomfortable, like walking a tightrope without support. Every choice that does not align with the crowd seems to draw attention, scrutiny, or doubt. Friends, family, or colleagues might question why you act differently, why you think differently, or why you dream differently. They might even unintentionally try to mold you into their image of normal, believing they are helping you fit in. In such an environment, it is easy to forget the value of standing out. We forget that the world moves forward because of those who dared to challenge the rules, who refused to settle for what everyone else accepted. It is important to recognize that the pressure to conform is not always overt. It is subtle, woven into everyday interactions, celebrations, and expectations. Learning to notice it, to identify when we are bending ourselves to match others instead of honoring our true selves, is the first step toward courage. Understanding this pressure helps us see that the discomfort of being different is a natural part of growth. It is a sign that we are breaking free from the invisible chains society places on us. When we accept that standing out is not wrong but necessary, we start to reclaim our identity. Every small act of authenticity becomes a declaration against uniformity, a quiet rebellion that asserts the importance of individuality, reminding ourselves that our value does not come from blending in, but from being unmistakably ourselves. Every person carries within them a spark that is completely their own, a combination of thoughts, ideas, and perspectives that no one else possesses. This individuality is not a flaw or a mistake. It is a gift that the world needs. When we try to erase our differences to fit in, we rob ourselves of the chance to contribute something truly original. Unique ideas, creativity, and innovation are born when someone dares to think differently, to challenge the familiar, to see possibilities that others overlook. The world is full of examples where breakthroughs came from those who refused to conform. Artists painted in ways society called strange. Inventors pursued experiments that others said were impossible. Leaders acted on visions that others resisted. Their courage to embrace difference created beauty, progress, and change that continues to influence generations. Individuality also shapes how we connect with others. People are drawn to authenticity, to someone who stands firm in their own beliefs, rather than mimicking what everyone else says or does. A life lived in imitation may feel comfortable, but it is often shallow and unfulfilling. When we embrace what makes us different, we experience a sense of purpose and confidence that cannot be replicated. It allows us to pursue our passions with intensity and clarity because we are guided by our own values, not someone else's expectations. Being different also inspires others to recognize and honor their own uniqueness. It creates a ripple effect where individuality is celebrated rather than suppressed. In communities, workplaces, and friendships, diversity of thought and character leads to richer conversations, better solutions, and stronger bonds. Embracing our differences requires courage, because it often means standing against popular opinion or resisting social pressure. It requires self-reflection to understand what truly resonates with us, rather than blindly accepting what society labels as normal. It involves trusting that our contributions, however unconventional, hold meaning and value. Every time we allow ourselves to act, speak, or think differently, we remind ourselves and others that conformity is not the path to significance. We affirm that creativity, progress, and authentic connection are born when people honor their individuality, when they recognize that the world is not improved by copies, but by those willing to show up as themselves. Fear is one of the strongest forces that keeps people from embracing their true selves. From a young age, we are taught to avoid mistakes, to fit in, to seek approval, and to stay within the safe boundaries defined by others. Fear of judgment makes us hide our opinions, our talents, and even our passions. Fear of rejection convinces us that it is safer to conform than to risk being different. Fear of failure keeps us from trying new things, exploring new paths, or stepping into the unknown. These fears are subtle. They do not always announce themselves loudly. Sometimes they appear as hesitation, doubt, or the quiet voice inside our heads that says we are not enough. Society reinforces these fears every day, rewarding those who follow rules and punishing those who dare to stand apart. Peers, family, teachers, and co-workers often unintentionally contribute by valuing approval and acceptance over courage and authenticity. Fear can become a habit, shaping our decisions, our relationships, and our dreams. It convinces us that comfort is more important than growth, that safety is more important than truth, and that blending in is better than standing out. Overcoming fear requires courage, but not the kind of courage that bursts like a lightning strike. It is the quiet, steady courage of deciding again and again to act despite discomfort. Every small step taken in alignment with our values, every choice to speak our truth, every attempt to pursue a path that feels authentic chips away at the power fear holds over us. Recognizing fear as a natural part of life, rather than a signal to retreat, changes our perspective. It becomes a guide, not a jailer, reminding us that growth and transformation are rarely easy or painless. Fear will always test those who dare to be different, but those who persist discover freedom, clarity, and resilience. When we act in spite of fear, we send a message not only to ourselves, but to the world that courage matters more than approval. The more we confront fear, the more we realize it is not an obstacle, but a companion on the path to authenticity, teaching us strength, perseverance, and the value of believing in our own voice. Every courageous act, no matter how small, reinforces the truth that living authentically is worth the discomfort, that fear is temporary, and that the reward of standing firm in our individuality far outweighs the safety of hiding. The world has always been shaped by those who refuse to follow the crowd. Every major change, every leap in human progress, began with someone who dared to see things differently. Think of the inventors who pursued ideas everyone else dismissed as impossible, the artists who painted visions that challenged conventional beauty, the leaders who fought for justice when obedience to authority was expected. Their courage was not in grand gestures alone, but in the daily choices to remain true to their vision, despite criticism and doubt. These people were often misunderstood, isolated, or ridiculed because society naturally resists what it does not recognize. Friends, family, and colleagues may have questioned their choices, yet they persisted, trusting their inner convictions over external approval. By standing apart, they demonstrated that true influence comes from authenticity, not conformity. The stories of these role models are not just history lessons. They are mirrors reflecting what is possible when someone embraces their difference. They show that discomfort and resistance are inevitable, yet the willingness to endure them can lead to extraordinary outcomes. The courage to be different often requires perseverance over years of struggle, as change rarely happens quickly or easily. Each step forward is met with doubt, criticism, or obstacles. Yet those who succeed continue to move, because they are motivated by purpose rather than acceptance. Their example teaches that being different is not a liability, it is a strength that allows unique solutions, original ideas, and new ways of thinking to emerge. Observing these role models also reminds us that impact is rarely immediate. The world may resist initially, but persistence transforms perception over time. We learn from them that standing out does not mean being loud or defiant, but being consistent, committed, and confident in one's beliefs. By studying the lives of those who shaped art, science, culture, and social justice, we see a pattern influence and change begin with a single individual willing to act differently. Their courage encourages others to honor their own uniqueness, creating a ripple effect of innovation, creativity, and leadership. Following their example, we understand that the pressure to fit in is temporary, but the legacy of embracing one's true self can last generations. Their lives remind us that the act of daring to be different is both personal and transformative, and that by valuing our own individuality, we contribute to a world that thrives on diversity, courage, and vision. Courage begins not with the world, but with oneself. Before we can stand firm against pressure or criticism, we must understand who we are and what we truly believe. Self-awareness is the foundation of authenticity, and without it, every act of bravery can feel hollow or uncertain. Knowing our values, passions, and limits allows us to navigate a world that often tries to shape us according to its expectations. The inner battle is real. It is a constant struggle between the desire to fit in and the desire to remain true to ourselves. Many people compromise their beliefs to avoid conflict, to gain approval, or to feel accepted. Yet, every compromise chips away at confidence and erodes the sense of identity that fuels long-term fulfillment. Listening to our inner voice requires patience and courage, because it often whispers when the world shouts. It asks questions that society ignores. What do you care about? What matters to you more than comfort or applause? Who do you want to be when no one is watching? Strength emerges when we answer these questions honestly and choose actions aligned with our answers. Boundaries become a tool of protection, helping us resist the pressure to conform and enabling us to focus on what is meaningful. Trusting ourselves in the face of doubt or criticism transforms fear into energy, uncertainty into clarity, and hesitation into action. The inner conviction we develop acts like an anchor, keeping us steady when external forces try to sway us. It allows us to speak our truth, make bold decisions, and pursue paths that others may not understand or appreciate. Human sociology shows that communities often reward conformity over individuality. Yet those who succeed long-term are usually those who trust their own judgment, not the collective opinion. Every small decision made in alignment with personal truth strengthens the capacity for courage, teaching that resilience is built from consistency and authenticity. By focusing inward, we cultivate a sense of purpose that cannot be shaken by criticism or temporary rejection. It is in this inner strength that we find the power to act differently, to challenge norms, and to create impact. Each person who masters this inner battle not only shapes their own destiny, but also inspires others to examine their own beliefs, honor their individuality, and embrace the freedom that comes from being anchored in self-awareness. Embracing difference is not just a mindset. It is a practice that grows stronger with deliberate action. Every day presents opportunities to choose authenticity over conformity, to honor what makes us unique rather than bending to expectations. Small habits can make a big difference, such as speaking our truth even when it is uncomfortable, pursuing passions that others may not understand, and refusing to apologize for interests or ideas that feel genuine. Setting boundaries is another essential practice, because it protects our energy and reinforces the value of our individuality. Boundaries teach others how to treat us and remind us that approval is not the measure of our worth. Surrounding ourselves with supportive people amplifies courage and reinforces authenticity. Friends, mentors, and communities who celebrate difference provide encouragement when fear or doubt creeps in. They allow us to experiment, fail, and grow without the pressure to conform. Human sociology demonstrates that the groups we associate with influence our sense of normalcy and identity. Choosing associations that value growth and creativity over blind conformity strengthens our ability to act differently. Another key practice is reflection, taking time to assess whether our actions align with our true selves or with societal expectations. Journaling, meditation, or honest conversations with trusted allies help clarify values and purpose. By consistently choosing actions that reflect who we are, we train ourselves to resist external pressures naturally. Resilience builds when authenticity becomes a habit rather than an occasional choice. Embracing difference also involves accepting that not everyone will understand or support us, and that criticism or isolation may occur. Yet each act of standing firm, each decision to honor our uniqueness, reinforces courage and inspires others to do the same. Over time, These small choices create a life that is aligned with our passions, our beliefs, and our potential. The practical steps of acting authentically, protecting our energy, choosing supportive relationships, and reflecting regularly create a sustainable path toward individuality. They transform difference from a source of fear into a source of strength, creativity, and impact. The more we practice these habits, the more natural it becomes to live boldly as ourselves, to pursue paths that are unconventional, and to inspire those around us to recognize the beauty of their own uniqueness. Every deliberate action in alignment with who we are strengthens the ripple effect of courage and authenticity, showing that living differently is not only possible but deeply rewarding.